Another game between ranked teams that we got is number 25 Miami at number 12 North Carolina, which is at 7:30 p.m. on ABC. And Dalton, the biggest storyline is obviously how on earth does Miami respond to the most inexcusable loss in college football history?
On 6 days notice, I'm not really sure, because losses like that really, there's regular losses where it's the 24-hour rule, go to sleep, stew on it and move on, right? It's not a regular loss. These are the types of losses that they drag with you throughout the week of practice, right? Like, you're trying, especially to a team like Georgia Tech. Like, if it was Florida State, or if it was like a really, really good team, right? But there's games in this conference you can't lose if you want to compete. And despite, Miami, I'm going to be honest with you, the theme, obviously that's the headline. And It should be. When you have the game won, win it, okay? But the theme is situational football, okay? Between that, they went 1 for 4 in the red zone. They had 4 turnovers. Van Dyke was just he was trying to fit balls into every window, and sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. There was a good chunk of this game that they lost. It was, the fact is, you shouldn't only, if you're Miami and you were number 17 in the country, let's just say they would have taken a knee and won the game. You still would have only beat Georgia Tech 20-17.
Right.
Okay. They did not play particularly well in this game, front to back, which should have put more emphasis on, let's just get out of here with a win.
Yeah.
Now, to me, it would be hard for me to believe they didn't ruin this team's psyche with a loss, because now you go, even if they run the table and their one loss is Georgia Tech, let's just say Miami had playoff hopes. Would a loss to Georgia Tech get you into the top 4 as your only loss? If you beat North Carolina, Florida State, and maybe, I don't know, Duke, whoever they play in the ACC title game, whoever, for Florida State twice. Is it too much to overcome, especially when they lost this game situationally, sort of, and they didn't play well, especially in the red zone. They were just awful. Van Dyke, down on the 18 or 20, throwing picks in the end zone when they could have just manufacture points. Like, between the 20s, he was great. And then he gets down in the red zone and he's just trying to fire balls into windows. I know he's got a cannon, but we can't have this. So that's the biggest story going into this, is where Miami is at mentally. Mm-hmm. If we get into, okay, let's overlook it for a minute and go, they should have won the game and they should be 6-0 and this and that. Why is Miami better this year? Okay. Why is Van Dyke better this year? To me, this is where I was going to go before we had all this nonsense against Georgia Tech, is Miami's pass protection last year was 58th, okay, in the FBS. This year, they're the 8th best pass protecting team in the country, all right? Why is that important? Because Tyler Van Dyke does not move.
Yeah.
Okay. I've said it before. He probably reminds Miami fans a lot of Vinny Testaverde, man. Probably. He's old school. He's a statue. It's stand back there, stand still, protect me, give me all the space I need, and I got an absolute cannon, and we're going. We're going 25 yards down the field every play if we can, right? As a vertical passer, okay, and the arm talent, this guy is going no later than the 3rd round, right? It's a different motion. I think Van Dyke has an even better arm, but I remember like Ryan Mallett, right? Statue.
Yeah.
Huge arm. There's going to be a coach in the NFL that goes, oh boy, I can work with this guy. Like, I don't, even something like, and I know he's playing like an MVP level guy right now, but like something in the style of like Jared Goff, right? Mm-hmm. Doesn't move a ton, protect him, can make every throw on the field. Okay. That's Tyler Van Dyke. Can they protect him in this game? They haven't played an elite pass rushing team yet. A&M had to blitz him a lot, and he beat it. They protected it, and he beat it. He's only been pressured. Here's the pressure in their 5 games this year. How many times has he been pressured? 4, 8, 3, 2, 9.
Wow.
He's just, nobody's touching him. Nobody's touching him, and right now he's the fourth best clean pocket quarterback in the country. Okay, if you don't get to this guy, he's going to let it rip. He's going to play 7-on-7, and he's not going to sit there and dink and dunk you and do Tom Brady's 6 yards to Edelman all day. He is letting it rip. Okay, two big things for UNC in this game. One, Kamon Rucker right now is the best pass rusher in the ACC, 84 pass rushing grade. Two, I didn't realize this with North Carolina. You know, they've only given up 2 passing touchdowns, and they were both to App State in week 2, and they're giving up a 64.7 passer rating, which I think only Penn State is better.
Wow.
Their secondary, they are keeping it in front. And I know they haven't played like great passing teams, but even like Syracuse is, you know, you've got Schrader and everything last week. They only gave up 7 points, I believe it was. Mm-hmm. You've got a team right now. The fun matchup in this is, one, if Miami's pass protection is real against an admittedly very good North Carolina defensive line. And two, you've got the 8th best team in covering deep balls against the 6th best team throwing them. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's where it's at for me, is if you leave Van Dyke back there, because last week, honestly, 3 of his 4 turnover-worthy plays were in a clean pocket too. Okay, so sometimes this is a guy who believes in his arm, man. I'm not kidding. He will rifle balls into windows that 95% of guys won't even try. But he can only make those throws if he's protected. So the first place I'm looking is Kamon Rucker and UNC's defensive line. If you can disturb Van Dyke, then he starts doing things he shouldn't have, or he starts taking sacks because he doesn't move at all. I think the difference in mobility between these two quarterbacks is going to be a theme here.
Yeah, definitely, man. And yeah, like we said before, like that inexcusable loss to Georgia Tech, where if you lived under a rock, Miami had the ball, 3-point lead, under 40 seconds left. Georgia Tech had no timeouts. Both coaches, as they should, would kneel the ball, clock would expire. Instead, they ran it, fumbled it. Georgia Tech got the ball, scored a game-winning touchdown. Now you got to rebound quickly, man. North Carolina, first time in 26 years that North Carolina is 5-0 to start the season. Since 1997 was the last time, before I was even born, was the last time North Carolina was 5-0 to start the season. My big matchup is on the other side of the ball. It really is, can Miami slow down Drake Maye? Because if you slow down Drake Maye, game over. You look at the UNC offense right there, 9th in passing grade, 40th in rushing grade, tied for 55th in receiving grade. They're also 55th in pass blocking grade, and they're 118th in run blocking grade. This is a lot like the conversation we had with the Penn State Nittany Lions and Drew Aller. Drew Aller playing lights out football right now for Penn State. Drake Maye playing lights out football for UNC. If either one of those quarterbacks is off his game, it's going to be a lot of trouble for that offense to have any sort of success because that offense is so reliant on Drake Maye. And, you know, there are a few quarterbacks I'd rather have to rely on than Drake Maye right now, because right now his 92.4 grade over the last 2 seasons leads all quarterbacks in the country, even higher than Caleb Williams, who is 0.1 points off him right now. Miami, though, has a really damn good defense. Miami, 2nd best run defense grade in the country at 92.5, which places even more pressure on Maye to shoulder the load offensively. Also, Miami has the 10th best pressure rate in the country at 39.8%. And we mentioned already, North Carolina is 55th in pass blocking grade right now. Now, of course, Miami's coverage unit has been just about average so far this season, but last week, All-American safety Cameron Kitchens returned from his injury as well. So that's a big get for Miami in this game. So I think Miami defensively can match up pretty well with North Carolina offensively, who of course now has Tez Walker to add to that receiving core. So that receiving grade might go up a lot probably. But still, man, I think Miami's defense could make this a ball game, man. And like I said, if you get Drake Maye off his game and if he's not having a great game, North Carolina is going to really struggle offensively because they don't really have too much else that they can rely on right now. But ultimately, Dalton, who are you rolling with in this ACC game?
This is a weird one. This might be the weirdest one because I would have really liked to have seen Miami go into this game undefeated,
right?
And not coming off all of that and charged up even on the road and playing well. And Tyler Van Dyke has been so good, and you just you throw that wet towel on it, and it's so hard for me to pick Miami because I'm not going to do it when Drake Maye is such a constant. Like I think you just hit it right on the head where North Carolina's football team is like solid. Mm-hmm. The solid team, right? Like they don't have quite the weapons like they did last year, Josh Downs and all that. And their defense is good. It's not Bama, it's not Michigan, it's not UCLA. We'll get to that. And you know, but the plan is play solid football and let Drake be Drake, right? And that's gotten him this far. Best start since you've been alive, you said, right?
Yeah.
It's gotten him this far. Drake Maye, the arm, the legs, the everything. You just made, if there was ever an argument for them to clip and go, why should this guy be probably the number 2 overall pick? You just made the argument. That was it. He's taken what's probably on the whole a B football team and made them look like an A football team. Mm-hmm. That's what great quarterbacks do, right? Miami, they can totally play with them. The one other issue I have with Miami is kind of level of competition stuff. And I know they put it up on Texas A&M. But otherwise, you've got like Georgia Tech and Temple and just soft. It's been soft since the Texas A&M game. So it's hard for me to gauge how good, especially their defense. They've played some bad teams. I want to say Akron might have been in there too, or somebody like that. It's been a soft schedule outside of the A&M game, and A&M they blitzed Wegman like crazy. I think it was 60% of the time they blitzed him and just kept going and A&M still put up 33 points on him. So you know Van Dyke was just better because A&M didn't get to Van Dyke at all. I'm going to take North Carolina. They're at home. They're the undefeated team now with more at stake. Okay, not that Miami doesn't have their whole season at stake because now you gave away your margin for error. Okay, big time college football, playoff type, or even New Year's Six type of college football. You get one loss, especially for the playoff. You get one, and you gave that one away, and now you have to run the table against this. And a week later, you have to go into Chapel Hill against Drake Maye and all of this. And Tez Walker, I like that you mentioned Tez Walker too. Clearly a shot of adrenaline just having him out there. Right? Last week, 6 catches, I think, for only 43 yards, which in and of itself, isn't crazy, but it's a shot of adrenaline after all this fighting they've been doing. And we've been talking about their receivers dropping balls for weeks, right? He's got terrific hands. He's 6'2" and 200. It's weird. He's like 6'2", but he's got a stride, like a long stride when you watch his Kent State tape, like he's 6'5". Like he's this long stride. Like if he looked like last week, he was getting his feet wet back on the field. Got to get in shape a little bit. The sooner he gets in like game shape and really gets it rolling, the more dangerous North Carolina is going to be. I don't know if that'll be this week, but Miami, this is a step up. This is easily the best team they've played this year.
Yeah.
And look, Texas A&M is pretty good, but they game planned so properly for Texas A&M, and Van Dyke had the best game of his career. I think it's the mental aspect. I think I would still pick North Carolina to win this game, but it would be wicked, wicked tight. I'm going to say 34. Let's say 34-26 for North Carolina. I just think Drake Maye is such a constant, and this Miami team now. I mean, it wasn't supposed to be the story of college football.
Yeah.
We were supposed to end Saturday talking about Texas, Oklahoma, and those other games we previewed last week, right? And it was supposed to be, okay, how's the Big 12 shaping out? Mm-hmm. And now we've got the story of college football this past week was Miami giving away a game to Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
And that weighs on you. Losing a game like that weighs on you. It weighs on you all the way to probably, today's Wednesday, I would bet it weighs on them until about today. And then they have to okay, we got to turn around and go to Chapel Hill. It's so hard to get back off the mat after a regular loss where you got outplayed is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
To get off the mat from a game like that and then have to go, they're not going out here getting to play Virginia Tech.
Right.
They can bounce. This is now your season. And it was kind of like your season anyway, but like a loss at North Carolina is your first loss. There's no shame in that. It's Drake Maye. Now it's like, I don't know how they recapture it. I'm going to take North Carolina 34-26, and I just think that mental edge is it's going to be a huge difference.
Interesting, man. I'm actually, for the third time in a row, I am going to ride with the away team. I'm picking Miami in this game. I think Miami gets back on track. I was with you. Originally, when I started previewing these games, I thought to myself, okay, I'm probably going to pick North Carolina because, like you said, that mental aspect is tough for me to get over. But like I said before, North Carolina is so reliant on one guy. Now, of course, that one guy is better than most in college football right now. But at the same time, I think Miami, like I said before, with USC and like I said before with Oregon, I think Miami can win in a number of ways offensively. And I think their run game has been really, really solid. Like you mentioned before, the offensive line has played really well. Van Dyke has been slinging it. The receiving core has played really well too. Xavier Restrepo, their slot receiver, is one of the highest grade receivers in the country right now. And then defensively, like I said, Miami's been unreal in terms of run defense. They've been great in terms of pass rushing. And North Carolina could struggle in terms of blocking. Their offensive line has struggled in terms of blocking, period, mainly in run blocking. So, yeah, I think that Miami can get pressure on Drake Maye. They can stop that run game altogether. And then the secondary, again, it's not great, but you get Cam Kitchens back. And the North Carolina receiving core, even with Tez Walker, isn't anything to write home about, really. It's going to be all on Drake Maye's shoulders. I think Miami responds in a big way, and I think they win this game over North Carolina. I got 30-28. I think Miami gets them back on track, and North Carolina's undefeated season ends at the hands of the Hurricanes. So I'm excited for that game, man.